2, 1. Go ahead.
Alright, hello YouTube. My name is Rom Sun from Massachusetts Low. I'm here at YCS Providence, not Providence, New Jersey.
New Jersey.
In Meadowlands. I mean, I didn't make it to day 2, but I had a lot of fun playing this new form of bubble beat I made. It went X3 after the end of day 1, so I was day 1, so I just dropped. But I'd just like to show you guys what's in it. So obviously it's a hero. What deck is a hero deck with all Stratos? Obviously Bubble Man, Bubble Beat. It's nothing but speed. If you guys ever played Bubble Beat or seen Bubble Beat, you gotta play him. But you know, I play it. This is a secret tech. I play Tin Plate Goldfish. It's like an extra monster. I mean, it's not a warrior, but it allows you. It's very versatile and it makes you a lot of plays. And when you get dead draws, that big defense really comes in handy when you're playing back rows. Obviously, Thrasher, really good ramp, and Depth Rolls. It works really well with the synergy of Bubble Man. And just like, it's an extra 4 for free. You know what I mean? So, that's basically it for the monsters. Now it's for the magics. Obviously, your standard staples, Heavy Storm Dark Hole. And this format's wicked back row heavy for the most part. So, I really feel like this deck needs 3 MSTs. Like other decks, they play Night Beams. I think it's really tricky because certain decks, Night Beam doesn't phase them at all. So, I just rather not deal with it. At the very least, side deck it, I guess. But I didn't try it out this time. I should have maybe, because I lost to 2 Marvel decks. And obviously, you need your tutors, your searches, 2 emergency calls, Rhoda. And since this is Bubble Beat, War Return Live is wicked live. Especially if you ever get Hero Lives. Hero Lives, War Return Live, that's like opening Shark Magician. Just go Hero Lives, Stratos, get a +1. And then you make Laval Chain, you pitch up for Zephyros. And it just becomes wicked live. The whole time you have no hand, you feel like you're playing Infernities. And you War Return Live, you get the Stratos, you haven't normal summon yet, you go off again. Especially you open Reborn, that your opponent basically just like, if you know what deck they're playing, you can put out whatever XC just to stop them. From Shockmaster or whatever. You guys are going to question me why I play 3 Upstart Goblins. So, the problem with Bubble Beat, in my opinion, is the fact that they have no real way to hard plus other than Stratos. If they somehow manage to stop your Stratos, they stop you for the whole game. The longer the game goes on, your chances of winning just straight up goes down. So I played 3 Upstart Goblins to give my opponent life, along with paying my life. But you'll see that later in the trap lineup.
What about Pot of Duality or Card D? Why don't you use them?
The problem with Card D and Pot of Duality is that they're so amazing for building. And if you ever have them in your hand, in a Bubble Beat deck, it forces you to play them. Like you can't just go off with a Card D in your hand for Bubble Man Beat. You know what I mean?
Okay, so and Pot.
And for Pot of Duality, this deck is so explosive. I'm able to special summon every single turn. There's not a single turn where I can't special summon. If I choose not to, it's just I'm gonna sit there with dead cards in my hand. So you should be at least playing out your cards. And Duality, for you to give up a turn to slow yourself down, it's just too much to surrender. You know what I mean? So that was basically the Magic lineup. It's pretty explosive stuff. And so for back rows, I run a pretty heavy back row. I think I run like 14. So for obviously, I think I don't know how you guys feel. Starlight Road is it's a must for me. Especially if I play anything plus 10 plus back rows, it's a must. When your opponent has Dark Hole, Heavy Storm, I just don't want to lose to it. And for me to get a free 25 beater, just because my opponent gets greedy, I'm gonna punish them. Solemn Judgment, obviously it speaks for itself. It counters like 90% of the meta. Obviously, some stuff that it can't stop because it's activated effects, and it pays life for the most part, and it drops down my own life points. Bottom Sharp Hole, wicked solid card, usually 1-for-1s, and depends on how you play it, possibly 2-for-1s. Torrentials, amazing cards, you know, because I'm always sitting behind a Maze Stroke, and for me, the Torrential, it just answers a lot. And with this kind of deck, I don't want my opponent to rush me, so I really have to build up on board wipes. Mirror Force, same reason. Punish players that don't think their plays through clearly because they're only reading D prisons and they swing for game. And Mirror Force just punishes them and takes the game away from them. 3 Phoenix Chains. So this deck plays no Veiler, obviously. And Phoenix Chain serves as serves as sort of a removal, and it stops abilities. And with Zephyros, it can plus really well. It's like turn 1 Diva, well Phoenix Chain. My turn, pop it back to my hand, run it over my Zephyros, set my chain again. That wastes you no resources. So these 3 cards are the heart of the deck. And if I win a dice roll, or I get a chance to actually set up properly, this card is like the nuts. And this is what set this different from other bubble beats. Hope for escape. So yeah, this card is amazing. Like in the right hands, it just wins games. All those times, like for Hero Lives, the pay life, like that card is such a problem to me because it's just, you're such aggro, you put yourself at such a disadvantage, you might as well benefit from it. You're gonna pay half your life points with Solemn Judgment, Hero Lives, and it's just like, if you choose not to kill them and actually play like kind of a control deck. It's kind of a control deck that can go off when you feel like it. When you have game, you can go Excalibur, Armed Blade Ninja, and you can make strong plays like Shockmaster. And we all know what Shockmaster can do. So now, after all that, you see it. This card pluses really well, especially with Upstart Goblin. It makes the deck like a 37 card deck with the Upstart Goblins. And the Hope for Escape is just such a blowout card. If you plus 3 on your opponent, any good pro player, he basically can outplay anybody with that much resources. So now we're going into the extra deck. So the extra deck is wicked tight. It's pretty confusing for the most part. If anybody ever just grab my extra deck and look at it, it's pretty awkward. I don't play fusions, as you can tell. I don't play fusions because Miracle Fusion is just a dead drop most of the time. I play it. If your opponent manages to play around it, he's always expecting it. He's never going to allow you. A decent player would never allow you to resolve one. He shouldn't. So, obviously, Black Horn, below card, good removal, double removal actually. He's a dark target too, for whatever reason, other things. Obviously, he's a staple. Speaks the same for Cowboy. Diamond Direwolf, some people aren't playing him, but this card single-handedly won me so many games because it sets me up where Hero Lives, and I just drop it and I blow and make a Stratos Bubble Man, make a Direwolf, pop the back row, and it just go off again and just make Armed Blade Ninja Excalibur. Just because it sets up, especially you open double Hero Lives, this card is wicked live. It just makes your hand live. Just to have him, it's worth having in there. Maze Stroke speaks for itself. Guy's a boss, does not die. Runs over on so many things in the meta, just because they don't have the defense to match up. With the introduction of Hidden Arsenal 7, there's so much new deck starts coming up. Being able to play these 2 cards in just about any deck is what makes them as broken as they are, and their value does not speak for their play value. Daigusto Emerald and Laval Chain. This card is amazing. Like, even though I feel like I wish I could do more with him, but just setting up and getting a free Laval Chain with and putting a Zephyros in my grave and making Dweller and stuff, and being able to decide what card I'll draw 2 turns from now after I put a Zephyros in there, it's just amazing. And Daigusto Emerald, obviously you can see I'm only playing 9 monsters. This card is basically adding like 3 to 6 more monsters in my deck, and it makes everything so much more live. I was playing the Alias build for a while with Daigusto Emerald, but this Avarice effect is just too good, and I'd rather not waste my time trying to bring out an Alias, which is like dead most of the time for me because my other cards are just so much better because I don't waste my time with Gem Spark and Miracle Fusions, so Alias is not the same. So, and obviously there's these bombs. So I mentioned earlier Excalibur and Blade Armor Ninja. Extreme Powerhouse Warriors, just helps you push the game when you need to. And obviously I'm playing a Stardust Dragon because the Starlight Robe. Speaks for itself. Anyone who plays Starlight Robe should know what it does. Obviously water in the meta, Abyss Dweller. Water's best friend, just completely slows them down, runs over just about all of them except Megalo and Abyss Leap, but they shouldn't be able to bring it out, or he's sitting behind us with 1 or 2 back rows, they're just completely intimidated the whole time. Especially because I have Tin Goldfish and Bowman's, this guy never comes out of 1700. And Shockmaster and Ouroboros. I use them about as equal, even though people are surprised by that. It's just that there's sometimes with Shockmaster, when both players are wicked low on cards, it doesn't do as much. I mean, you can lock them out, but it's much better as an openly play when you make them for free, like Magician Shark. It's not the same. Ouroboros is such a blowout card. Like, when both players are down to 2 or 3 cards, he's just like, well, you have a free monster there. I'm gonna get that plus by running it over and hitting a card in your hand. Or removing something. Card's wicked live. especially if your opponent has 2 big exceeds, you like run over that one, pop the other one back to your extra deck. And these 3 cards is like, people are very surprised that these are the 3 most made cards in my deck when I win games. Bahamut Shark. People are really hyped up on Evil Swarms, but the 2550 is really tricky sometimes. Like, I don't want to play Utopia because Utopia is like, even though he's generic, he can't run over that.
What about Pearl?
Huh?
Pearl. Gemini Pearl.
Gemini Pearl is very, very solid as a card, but the potential in that card it's very lacking. It doesn't give you any advantage other than run over a monster. It's just a wicked, tricky play. The reason why you don't play it, Gemini Pearl though, is because most of the stuff that Gemini Pearl would run over, Maze Stroke should be able to kill it. And also, with him with his best friend Diamond Direwolf, I should be able to answer any monster one-on-one. I mean, this time, and being able to make Excalibur, I don't think attack points is an issue. It's just very convenient that this card is 2600. So I would make it run over stuff, main phase 2, activate his ability, and just get a free Abyss Right. Like I said, everything in the meta right now, nothing's over 2600 really. And just because this is 28 defense,
Never over 27.
27 for Abyss Lead?
Yeah.
The thing about Abyss Lead, it's just the problem. The Abyss Lead, I can answer him just about...
With Stroke.
Yeah, I can make it with Maze Stroke. He only has 1000 defense. He's not very strong there. And just because of that versatility, these extra deck cards have a lot more synergy than they seem. I mean, there's times, like, obviously I don't make 3s, but I get them for free. And being able to Daigusa Emerald sometimes, with these Exceeds, they just build up my graveyard so fast, it makes my Emerald wicked plussy. And this girl is such a hard card to kill. My opponent almost always has to minus himself to kill this card. Especially when my opponent has playing Fire Fist, I'll be Shark, run over his monster, and make an Abyss Right, pass turn. Bear can't get in. Bear can only kill can only do so much. Bear can only kill one, but he can't exactly kill both and deal damage. It's just impossible for a Bear.
How often do you bring him out?
A Bahamut Shark?
Yeah.
I made him I think I made him every match. Surprisingly enough, I made it every match. It's such a powerhouse when you have Starlight Road. You make Bahamut Shark, Abyss Right, set back rolls, pass turn. Because it makes the Dark Hole also dead. If I were to make a Maze Stroke, it's just, okay, Dark Hole, obviously they wouldn't play Dark Hole. They would do something else and play around it. But just the fact that you get Dark Hole out of the way, because they're sitting on Bahamut Shark with Abyss Right, and they don't know what else I'm playing. They don't know what else I'm going to bring out. It's just a wicked strong play. Even though they're very surprised, because that's what the Tin Goldfish is for. I make it with Bubble Man or just double Bubble Man. This card just runs over stuff and plus me hard. Like with 2 cards, I get 3 extremely decent cards. Where's that Leviathan go? I also play a Leviathan because he's 2000 and this stuff that there's stuff that he runs over, and even though he can't attack directly, he protects my Bahamut Shark from Mirror Force. I have a Bahamut Shark switch to defense, bring out this, and just force the Mirror Force because they don't want to protect them. They want to protect the monster. And this card is such good stats. 2100, he doesn't lose to Maze Stroke. I mean, he can't get Corn. The only real way to kill it is Cowboy and Diamond Direwolf, like for rank 4s anyways. And even then, this thing is never alone, so it's a wicked solid card. And as my side deck, it was pretty last minute.
On you?
I do, but it was wicked. It wasn't exactly what I wanted. I asked my friend to bring me side deck cards the last minute, and he forgot. So I had to deal with what I had. I had 2 Overworks. I play Rivalry, just 1 Rivalry, because I don't want to draw more than 1 and just dead draw them. Because I have a really bad habit of going overboard with side deck cards sometimes. I don't feel like a card that sets a condition I need more than 1 of, because if I draw it, it becomes the nuts. If they MST it, I'm like, oh, well, I wish I drew another one. It gets really tricky. The scenarios is not always there.
Right, but what about if you don't draw it?
If I don't draw it, I don't see it. I mean, the deck pretty much like can answer any deck. Like, I don't really have a bad matchup. It's either I go off or my opponent like outplays me or something, or he draws really well. Like one of my losses to Marmel's, I had a Abyss Dweller. He kills it because he hardcasts a lead off a Spear and runs it over. And then I made a Shockmaster and he rips Dark Hole off the top. I mean,
It's Yugioh.
It's Yugioh. I mean, I know my deck did well. There's nothing else I can say. It's not a really. It's actually. It only looks scrubby. So the 1 Rivalry is wicked blowout card. Like if I draw it, it just completely destroys my opponent. Because I don't want to draw more than 1. Just the potential. I want to cut my losses as much as possible. Increase my percentages of actually drawing decent. Dino Fossil. If you ever played Yu-Gi-Oh! For more than one format, you have ran into a Dynafossil at one point in that time in your life. This card stops so much. Like, it just stops so much. When you're behind, this card can save you. When your opponent just summons a bunch of monsters for free, you just blow them all up when it's flipped face up. And if you're on the play, you could just, I'm playing 14 back rows, Dynafossil, set a bunch of cards, and just keep poking them. This card will kill it. This card stops so much stuff in the meta. Water, Fire Fist, Mind Crush hits just about every deck. Spellbook. There's not a single deck in the meta that you really can't Mind Crush. I was playing against gadgets, and my opponent summons a gadget, and he starts out his target, and he flipped our Ultimate Offering. I Mind Crushed the only gadget in his hand, and it saved me that game. And it just, I went on to just destroy him, just because I saw his hand. This card, people don't realize it. It is the best 1-for-1 in this game once it resolves. Free information is not the same. Like, it's not a Trap Dust Shoot, because Trap Dust Shoot activation requirement, I mean, it's at a 4. But the fact that you have to have 4, your opponent has to have 4, and it can only hit monsters, it obviously is banned because it's just too cheesy. Mind Crush only gets better, like this fellow just said.
Have to return to the hand, spellbooks.
Every deck searches. This card is anti-search. It just slows everything down, and the free information is just a +3. This card is a +3. Like, in the right hands, it just wins you games. Like, your opponent will just be frustrated. Like, whenever you Mind Crush your opponent, 50% of the time, I guarantee you, they're just like this. They don't want to show you the whole hand. They want you just to get a glimpse and forget the whole hand. But you want to just analyze his hand and make sure you get everything, so you know how he's gonna play his hands. Like, this card takes away all the pilot in your opponent. Like, there's no way he can outplay you really, because it's just outplaying usually comes from your opponent not knowing what you have, and you know exactly what they have. So I'm also playing one Dust Tornado because there's so many back row heavy decks, and there's times where I want to protect certain trap cards, like or magic cards, or whatever reason. It just comes along really well, and it's an extra magic and trap destruction. I'm playing one Shadow Prisoning Mirror. Same reason as the rivalry.
Fucking Insectors.
Like Insectors, Evil Swarms. Like, Evil Swarms is not that big of an issue right now. Huh? Infernity. This. Just because my friend here mentioned Infernities, I might have should have played more than one, but I didn't get paired up with any.
I lost to Infernity and GK.
Yeah, I lost to Infernity and...
In the one Soul Drain, same reason, I don't want to play as much. And this card's even better. It's better than all my other continuous trap cards, just because I pay 1,000 life points.
Putting you close to your condition.
Yeah, it makes me closer to plus hard, and it just slows my opponent down. The one time I drew this card the whole time, my opponent had Heavy Storm. I did not set it because I had a feeling he had it. Heavy Storm my one back row, and he went off to Presume. He had like Megalo, and like I had like just a Mind Crush, and I didn't want to Mind Crush and call it and hit wrong. But if I called the Megalo like my gut told me to, I would have won that match because he wouldn't be able to kill me. He had like Diva and stuff like that, and Reborn.
Have a Megalo Diva.
Yeah, Megalo Diva, Reborn. Seems pretty good. So these 3 cards are really, really... No. Obviously deck lockdowns.
Oh,
good stuff.
So
good stuff.
Good
stuff. Good stuff. You resolve this card against a deck that wants new cards from their deck. They're not gonna win. They're just straight up not gonna win. Especially with Zephyros in my deck. It gives an extra turn to deck lockdown. Every turn is so crucial. Especially your opponent's not gonna feel safe against heroes once they resolve all their searches and all their summons, and you can't do it now. This is not fair. It's like me saying, hey, I'm gonna make more money than you. It's complete total, like, if I can't swear, so just blow a card. These 3 cards are basically my personal side deck techs. There's some people that see my Warrior Return lives, and they're just like, oh, I'm gonna play removal. Well, guess what? If I resolve this card, I win. Even if I bring back 2 monsters, even 1. It's just pay half my life points, hope for escape, go off.
Wait, how? Oh, okay. Continue.
Yep, paying half my life points. I mean, one time, my opponent, he activated Starlight Road at me. I chain return for a different dimension, just so I can get a Dynafossil and stop it. And then I pass over to him, I Mirror Force as 1 monster, and I activate Double Hope for Escape and proceeded to win that game.
How often do you actually remove your monster from...
I do not. I am completely reliant on my opponent removing my monsters.
You don't run Miracle?
I do not run Miracle Fusion. This is the only reason why I would think about Miracle Fusion, but even then, Miracle Fusion is not live 24/7, so it's not really. I don't feel like it belongs in my deck, especially the extra deck is already so tight. That's how I found all the room for all those extra deck cards. So I don't know. I just feel like I made the right decision because there's not too many heroes that are doing well either because they're all scared to play against other decks. So we'll return for this mention. You lose to this card, it's because you played yourself into it. Mischief of the Yokai. This card is extremely tricky. So Yu-Gi-Oh! Nowadays, we all know is Wicked Exceed heavy, and if you're not able to exceed, you're pretty much either slow down or gonna lose the game. And Rabbit's still a thing, Torgat is still a thing, but now that it's not the same as before, where everyone would just have whatever exceeds they feel like playing. Every exceed card in your extra deck has a purpose. It's there for a reason, and you're never really gonna play Gachis in a Dino Rabbit deck. So when my opponent summons Rabbit to bring out 2 Saber Service, I'll Mischief with the Yokai, drop them to 2s, and they can't make anything and they'll just die at end turn. Same thing applies to Evil Swarms and any decks that play Rabbit. And this card is wicked clutch when it's in your graveyard. It just scares your opponent off. So if this card is in your graveyard, anytime except the turn it was sent to the graveyard, you can banish it from your grave to reduce one monster's level by 1. What does that mean? It means that your opponent has 2 monsters and he wanted to exceed, he's not going to have them anymore because one of them is going to be a completely different level and he won't be able to make what he wanted. And you're sitting behind a really decent monster like a Maestroke or a Bahamut Shark with an Abyss Rite in defense mode. Your opponent's completely just going to lose monsters and he's going to fall behind an advantage. And with Laval Chain, I can send this card to the graveyard and just get a free Mischief. It's completely amazing. I wouldn't play 2 because it becomes a really bad draw. At least as a 1, it answers so many situations. It's not a removal. Remember, people, it's not a removal, but it gets around stuff that prevents removal. So Mischief Yokai. And this third card, everyone's favorite card.
You mean last card?
Huh?
Last? This is the last one?
This is the last card right here. People are really surprised by it, but Mirror Wall.
Why?
Mirror Wall is in my side deck because there's times where I feel like my monsters just aren't strong enough, even though they're heroes, because I cut down the power by cutting Miracle Fusions. Mirror Wall is a continuous trap card that says whenever your opponent declares an attack, their monster will have to cut their attack points in half. Fire Fist and stuff like that, just whenever you run into a monster that's smaller than you and they're attacking you, you know they have a lance or a trick up their sleeve. And they'll wait till you enter damage calculation and they'll be like, you really don't want to waste this 1-for-1, and or whatever reason, you don't have it, whatever, and your opponent feels safe going to damage calculation, they'll activate their lance and you activate Mirror Wall. And because of the fact that this is continuous, it'll sit there and it'll continuously keep cutting their attack points in half, and your monsters will continuously keep getting it through. Another positive side to this card is just the fact that you can choose to keep it and pay life. 2,000 is like an extra draw for Hope for Escape. Paying 2,000 every standby phase, for 2 turns of your opponent not being able to attack you and you dealing exactly what the damage is, you're completely controlling the pace of the game. There's nothing your opponent can really do to it because he doesn't really want to MST a Mirror Wall. I've been through that situation so many times, and I'll just flip over Hope for Escape. Like, if I resolve like a +2 or a +3, I just pretty much I'll play my opponent from there. Pot of Greed is banned for a reason, right? So, Mirror Wall, completely versatile card against aggro decks, slows them down in their steps.
Do you use it today? The Mirror Wall?
I used every single card in this deck. There's not a single card that was not played. Every single side deck card was played. Especially against Fire Fist, this double overwork did so much dirt. My opponent summons a bear with the Tiger King on the field, and I activate Bottomless Trap Hole on this bear. He chains Forbidden Lance, and I chain Overwork on top of it because he had a Tenki out on board, and it completely wiped out his field because obviously the Chain Link works in reverse. Every card in here was pretty much saw play, and it won me a game or 2. The only card I probably would think about cutting is maybe 1 Dynafossil. Same reason as a lot of the reasons why I run the 1-offs is because of the fact that I don't want to draw two of the same card for a situation that they're bad at. It's just, I want to cut my losses. I don't want to completely dead draw into stuff. So, that was Fishing for Heroes. by Narom Sun, or the RFS, rank 4 spam. And thank you for the deck profile, and I hope you guys enjoyed this video.
Thanks.